Good day to each and everyone, especially to Ma'am Rachel Libradilia. I am Balasabas Ivy May Kaday, a third-year student taking up Bachelor of Elementary Education at Negros Oriental State University, Mabinay Campus. And for today's video, I will be going to report the lesson 19. According to Charles Eliu, books are the quietest and most constant of friends. They are the most accessible and wisest of counselors, and also the most patient of teachers. A child's reading skills are important to their success in school, as they will allow them to access the breadth of the curriculum and also to improve their communication and language skills. In addition to this, reading can be a fun and imaginative time for children, which open doors to all kinds of new worlds for them or for every learners. Here's the video that shows the importance of reading. Please watch the video.
It's often said that nowadays people don't read so much, but this isn't actually true. People often read from Kindles or tablets instead of books. And they might get information from computers or tablets or phone screens rather than from encyclopedias. But even if it's not the same type of reading our parents did, we still do a lot of reading every day. Regardless of what we read from, we use the same basic processes to create meaning. We set goals depending on our purpose for reading. We recognize individual words and use our understanding of the grammar of the language to build up and check the meaning of the text. The more we read, the more we understand. Eventually, we reach an almost complete understanding of the text. When we read longer texts, we read in different ways, depending on our purpose for reading. We might read quickly in order to get a general idea of the topic or to find specific information we need. Alternatively, we might read very carefully to get a thorough understanding of the topic. Whichever way we read, our brains work very hard to make sense of the words we see. When designing a test of reading comprehension, we should make our tests as relevant and meaningful as possible. For example, if we want to test whether someone can read a bus timetable to find a suitable time to travel somewhere, we should give them a task that requires them to do exactly that. Reading tests should always aim to be as authentic as possible in order to fit the purpose for which they are designed. Reading tests may be completed using traditional pencil and paper methods, or the tests may be delivered and responded to on a computer. Either way, good reading tests will consist of an efficient and suitable combination of texts and tasks. Let's think about what test takers read. These texts should be at the right level of difficulty and be long enough to contain enough specific details. Test takers should get information from the text to answer the questions, rather than being able to do so based on their background knowledge. It's also essential that the text is not culturally biased and won't cause offense to any group of test takers. Lots of different tasks are used in reading tests. Test takers might read a text, then be given a series of questions and asked to choose the correct answer from several alternatives. Or they may have to choose a sentence that best summarizes different paragraphs in a text. Sometimes, test takers are asked to complete a text that has had words removed. Other times, they might be asked to give short written answers to questions. They may have to understand information presented in graphic form and respond by labeling a chart or completing a table. An increasingly popular task these days is a reading into writing task, where test takers read one or more texts and then summarize them in their own words. All these tasks have advantages and disadvantages. For this reason, we try to include a range of task types in our reading tests. Once the texts and tasks have been decided on, there are a few other things to check on before the test is given to test takers. The instructions to the test takers must be clear, so they know exactly what they have to do for each task. They must be given enough time to complete the tasks satisfactorily, and most importantly, they should know exactly how their answers will be scored. When we score a test, we must make sure that there is only one clear answer to each question. Or, if the test taker is expected to write a short answer, that the number of possible correct answers is limited, and that markers have agreed upon acceptable responses. If the tasks require longer written answers, markers also have to agree whether marks should be deducted for grammar, spelling and punctuation mistakes. A reading test will only provide useful information about a test taker's reading ability if the assessment is done in a meaningful way. This means choosing the right texts, deciding on the most appropriate tasks, and scoring everything efficiently. All this takes time, effort, experience, and above all, a lot of common sense.
That videos shows the importance of reading. Reading assessments help educators on a day-to-day basis. Knowing a child's specific abilities allow a teacher to place students in appropriate reading groups and to create center work that promotes specific skill development. So, as a future educator of elementary school or elementary grades, it is important for us, or it is a very big responsibility to assess our learners' reading profile. Our topic is all about assessing learners' reading profile. As future educators, we are the ones who carry the big responsibilities to assess learners with their reading skills. Each learner comes to school with strengths and challenges along with a set of interests, talents, and aspirations. We often discover some of these qualities over the course of the school year by having conversations, observing how each learner responds in class, or through a set of data that has been collected from standardized testing. And the question is, how might we do this differently? Think about the learners in your class and in your life. What are their strengths and challenges in how they learn? How do they need or prefer to access information, engage with content, and express what they know and understand? What are their talents, interests, passions, and aspirations? So those are the questions that we need to consider in teaching or in reading. Teaching reading. need help building learner profiles or want to see how it's used. Learn how one Minnesota district builds and uses learners profiles for all ages. First thing is understanding our learners cannot only help a teacher to be better design instruction and materials, but it can also offer learners a way to develop agency as they become more and more aware of how they learn best. I have here some methods of assessing reading comprehension. There are several ways to evaluate a student's reading comprehension skills. One method is to use a formal assessment with the reading passages, or like for example, with reading passages followed by questions about the passage. Another method is to use informal assessment. Ask students to tell you about what they read or retell the story or event in their own words. Put students in discussion groups and listen to what they have to say about the book, watching for areas of confusion and students who are not participating. Ask students for a written response to the text, such as journaling, identifying their favorite scene, or listing the top 3 to 5 facts they learned from the text or from the passage or from the story that we read to them. But the question is how to teach effective reading comprehension. It might seem as though reading comprehension skills develop naturally. But that's because students gradually begin to internalize the techniques. Effective reading comprehension skills must be taught, but it's not difficult to do. There are simple strategies to improve reading comprehension that parents and teachers can employ. The most important step is to ask questions before, during, and after reading. So those are the 3 things or the 3 important things that we need to consider in teaching or to teach effective reading comprehension. Asking questions to the students before, during, and after the reading. Ask students what they think the story is going to be about based to the title or cover. As you're reading, ask students to summarize what they've read so far or predict what they think will happen next. After reading, ask questions to students to summarize the story. Identify the main idea or highlight the most important facts or event from the story. Next is help children make connections between what they've read and their experiences. Ask them or ask your student what they would have done if they had been in the main character situation or they've had a similar experience. So, imo sila nga pangutanon if they also experienced that kind of story nga imo nga gina-share sa ila. Consider reading challenging texts aloud. Ideally, students will have their own copy of the book so that they can follow along, especially in elementary years. Reading aloud models good reading techniques and allows students to hear new vocabulary in context without disrupting the flow of the story. So, how can we help students, or how students can improve reading comprehension skills? There are also steps that students can take to improve their reading comprehension skills. The first, or the most basic step is to improve overall reading skills. You're going to do is to help students select books about topics that interest them and encourage them to read at least 20 minutes each day. Dili na nato palabian because sa ana nga year is dali kayong mapulaan ang mga students. So at least 20 minutes. It's okay if they want to start with books below the reading level. Doing so can help students focus on what they're reading rather than on decoding more challenging texts and improve their confidence. So through reading, it can also build their confidence. Next is to encourage our students to stop every so often and summarize what they read, either mentally or aloud with a reading buddy. They may want to make notes or use a graphic organizer to record their thoughts. Next is remind your students to get an overview of what they be reading by first reading chapter titles and subheadings. Conversely, students can also benefit from skimming over the material after they've read it.